My name is Michael Hartley, a 33-year-old freelance investigative journalist living in Cedar Valley, Colorado, a small town where everyone claims they know everyone, but nobody actually knows anything. This story began on a calm Thursday morning in September. I was drinking cheap black coffee and staring at a half-written article when my phone buzzed. It was a woman I'd never heard of. Person Emily Carter said, "Mr. Hartley, please, I need your help. Someone took my father." Her voice was tight, controlled, but trembling beneath the surface. I asked her who her father was. Person Emily Carter said, "His name is Dr. Jonathan Carter. He's a retired mathematician. He disappeared last night." A missing mathematician? That was unusual. I agreed to meet her. Emily lived in an old Victorian house on Willow Street. When she opened the door, I noticed she had tired eyes, like she hadn't slept in days. She led me inside and pointed to the dining table. A single envelope lay there. Inside, there was only a small metallic key and a note in shaky handwriting. "Find the witness. Don't trust the sheriff. JC." That was the moment I realized Dr. Carter didn't just disappear. He predicted something. I asked Emily if her father had enemies. Person Emily Carter said, "No, at least not that I knew of. But 2 nights ago, he told me something strange. He said someone was watching him, someone from his past." Before I could ask more, her phone rang. She picked it up. I could hear the deep voice of a man on speaker. Person Sheriff Cole Donovan said, "Emily, I heard someone visited you. You shouldn't involve outsiders. Tell the journalist to leave." Emily looked at me with fear. I whispered for her to hang up. She did. There was only one person in town I trusted, Detective Ryan Mercer, an off-duty cop disliked by his department for being too honest. I called him. He agreed to meet secretly at Hunter's gas station, 10 miles out of town. When I arrived, he stood by his old pickup truck, arms crossed. Person Detective Mercer said, "You shouldn't be looking into this, Michael." I asked him why. He hesitated. Person Detective Mercer said, "Because Jonathan Carter wasn't just a mathematician. He worked for a classified division of the Defense Department 20 years ago. Something about predictive analytics." Predictive analytics? I asked what that meant. He looked around and lowered his voice. Person Detective Mercer said, "The man could predict events, almost perfectly, crimes, accidents, failures, and some people wanted to bury that ability." I took out the small metallic key. He froze. Person Detective Mercer said, "Where did you get that?" I told him it came from Jonathan. Mercer swallowed hard. Person Detective Mercer said, "That key opens something inside Cedar Valley Library, basement level, room B12. But be careful. Sheriff Donovan has eyes everywhere." That name again. Sheriff Donovan. The same man Jonathan told Emily not to trust. Late that night, I drove to the Cedar Valley Public Library. It was closed, but an old broken window on the side gave me access. I found the basement stairs, descended into the musty air, and located room B12. The door was steel, scratched and freezing to the touch. The key turned with a soft click. Inside was a dusty archive room filled with boxes. On the far wall, a single metal cabinet with a red label. "Carter Project, Confidential." My heart pounded. The cabinet was unlocked. Inside was a thick folder titled "The Last Witness." I opened it. Inside were dozens of printed pages, predictions Jonathan made over 20 years. Some predictions were marked as true, others marked as interfered. At the bottom of the stack, there was a recent prediction. "Murder of Jonathan Carter, 14th of September, 11:32 p.m., perpetrator, Sheriff Cole Donovan." My stomach dropped. Jonathan had predicted his own murder, and he predicted who would do it. Before I could process it, I heard footsteps behind me. Heavy, slow, intentional. A cold voice echoed. Person Sheriff Donovan said, "You shouldn't have opened that, Michael." I turned. Sheriff Donovan stood there with a pistol aimed at my chest. I raised my hands. I asked him why he took Jonathan. He smiled, slow, cruel. Person Sheriff Donovan said, "Because the man predicted things he shouldn't. Things about me, about this town, about the money I laundered through county projects. I told him to stop digging. He didn't listen." I asked where Jonathan was now. He laughed softly. Person Sheriff Donovan said, "You're too late." My pulse spiked. He stepped forward. Person Sheriff Donovan said, "Give me the folder." At that moment, a voice shouted behind him. Person Detective Mercer said, "Drop the weapon, Cole." Donovan spun around. I dropped to the floor as the two pointed guns at each other. Person Sheriff Donovan said, "Mercer, you always were a problem." Person Detective Mercer said, "Because I don't work for criminals." Tension snapped like a wire. Two shots echoed. I didn't know who fired first. Donovan fell backwards, one bullet through his shoulder. Mercer rushed forward and cuffed him. Once Donovan was secured, I asked Mercer the only question that mattered. Was Jonathan Carter still alive? Mercer sighed deeply. Person Detective Mercer said, "Yes, he's in protective custody now. He came to me 2 days ago, predicting all this. We staged his disappearance to protect him until we could gather evidence." I exhaled in relief. Emily. She deserved to know. The next morning, Mercer and I took Emily to a safe house in the outskirts of Cedar Valley. Jonathan was sitting inside, alive, though exhausted. Emily ran into his arms, sobbing. Person Emily Carter said, "Dad, I thought I lost you." Person Dr. Jonathan Carter said, "I knew you would come. I predicted it." He looked at me and smiled faintly. Person Dr. Jonathan Carter said, "And you too, Michael. Thank you for believing in my warning." I told him the town deserved the truth. He nodded. Person Dr. Jonathan Carter said, "And they will. But first, we expose every name on that prediction list. Donovan wasn't the only one." My spine chilled. There were more. Jonathan closed the folder slowly. Person Dr. Jonathan Carter said, "We aren't done, Michael. This was just the beginning." And that is how I learned that every quiet town hides a storm, every calm face hides a secret. And sometimes, the people who see the future are the ones most hunted in the present. But the truth, the real truth, is that Jonathan Carter wasn't wrong. This was only the beginning. And I still don't know whether his final prediction, the one he didn't show me, is about the town or about me.